The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.
Hi there, a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast, and it's going to be a warm weekend as well, hopefully. We have got so much action to bring you. There is something for everyone. A fiendishly difficult handicap at Ascot, some classic hopefuls go on trial at Lingfield. We've got some super jumpers and some decent flat action at Haydock Park. And then on Sunday, we've got the expert view on the key classic trials taking place there. I'm Bruce Millington, and I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Keeley and Johnny Ward, as well as from Paddy Power, Brendan Duke. Paul Keeley and Johnny Ward have retained their places in the Postcast team after their spectacular efforts last week. Just take a listen to this.
Right, the horse is called Russian Realm. He's a complete rag with Paddy Power as well. His best form is on good to soft ground. He's won at Goodwood. He's 1 from 1 at Goodwood. He beat some much higher rated horses than him when winning at Thirst last year. And for me, it just looks like an absolute plot. He's got a low draw. Richard Hughes would love to have winners at Goodwood without a shadow of a doubt. He loves the place. And he's 25 to 1 with Paddy Power.
That was Paul Keeley talking about Russian Realm, who didn't dot up, but he won at Goodwood, returned 14. So I'm not quite sure how many people managed to get the 25 to 1, because Brendan, I think basically at the moment you recorded last week's postcast, you just frantically rushed up to your traders and shouted, "Quick, cut Russian Realm," didn't you?
I don't have any memory of that situation. I think there were some faces on, and it was cut.
You know what happened to me actually, which was deeply embarrassing and quite annoying. I went down to the shop, the price was still there, and I asked for, I think it was 50 each way, which I thought, probably get away with that. 50 each way. She didn't even look at the docket. She goes, "That's fine." Put my hand in my wallet. Didn't have any money and didn't have my card with me. So I had to literally hand back the docket. Listen, sorry about that.
That's the opposite of getting knocked back, isn't it? Where you haven't even got the money to have the bet you wanted. Yeah.
Went out of the shop and it was 16s in 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, God.
Did you leave it or did you step back in?
I got involved with a rival firm at 20s. But to be honest, on the exchanges on the day, it was pretty much 20s again. And I'd kind of lost a bit of faith because it was so easy to back in the exchanges. But I had no reason to lose faith.
Excellent. And also, Johnny, you were in good form yourself last week. Tell us a bit about that. I know you're normally far too modest to spray yourself up, but Annabelle Fly, I believe, was the horse. Yeah,
I rang Frank Berry on the day before for a briefing on the race, and I know Tom Siegel likes to get a kind of a tune off trainers, what they like, and he kind of sometimes bases punting on what trainers say, but Frank had 9 horses to go through in the race, and he came to Annabelle Fly and he said, I think he'll run a blind. I think he'll run well. He was just about to say he's going to run a blinder, and then he kind of cushioned his language, and so I knew he was fancied, and he'd taken the I2 runs back. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I got Annabelle Fly.
Good on you. Excellent. Well, hopefully you can prolong your excellent form into this week. 9 races on Channel 4, and let's get stuck into what is unarguably the toughest one of them. It's the Victoria Cup. It takes place at 4:15 at Ascot on Saturday. There's a zillion runners. Paul Keeley, who's going to pass the post in front?
Yeah, hopefully Free Code, trained by David Barron, almost right down the bottom of the handicap, only just squeezed in. Couple of good wins last year on 7 furlongs. That's his specialist trip. Returned this season over 6. He was last with a furlong to go. He ran through under hands and heels to finish 4th. I thought it was a really good introduction. Probably more to come from him. David Barron won the race in 2006. He stuck £3 claimer Rob Hornby on it. I think he's got plenty going for him, about 14 to 1.
Excellent. Johnny Ward, who do you like?
I've no opinion on the race, I have to be honest with you. British handicaps would not be my thing.
Righto. Brendan Duke, let's have some prices from you.
Okay, so it's 7 to 1 Predominance, 8 to 1 Hold Tight, 10 to 1 Buckstay Outback Traveller, 12 to 1 The Grand Inquisitor, 14 to 1 Millionaire, Free Code, and 16's Bar.
And is that Free Code going to last a while now?
Oh yeah. Well,
sounded the alarm already.
Texting. It is the Victoria Cup, and we're in slightly no mass Paul Keeley territory, but we'll take a chance in the Victoria Cup.
I met your boss last week, Paddy Desmond. I met him at Punchestown. He's your boss, isn't he? Or are you going to refute that one, Brendan?
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Very nice.
Lively
Absolutely.
character.
He spoke very highly of you. He said you're a great bloke. So that was jolly nice. Completely irrelevant to this, but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that one in. So 14-1 then, Kills. That floats your boat, does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think he's got a good chance. I mean, there are a couple of really unexposed ones at the front of the market. Predominance. Now, I'd prefer him out of the two between him and Hold Tight. Predominance won a race at Haydock last time. He looked like he was going to be one of many that had trouble in running that day, but he managed to get out and then he won quite well going away. This ground's going to be even faster for a horse by Daniel Dancer, so I don't know whether he'll want it that fast.
Have we got any draw to factor in, or is the usual thing with Ascot, it's only until the jockeys decide to?
You think about the draw, and there's pace across the track, but you don't know where the jockeys are going to go. I mean, last week at Newmarket, the 5 furlong sprint at Palace House, the going stick, according to the readings, the slowest ground was on the far side, and all bar 5 runners went to the far side. I don't think they went over there for the rest of the meeting, but they went there then. Ruined my bet on Wadi, who needed some cover and pulled like a train on the stand side all the way and finished third. So it's guesswork what the jockeys do, where they go. So I never ever worry about things like that.
Okay, Brendan, did we get a tip out of you or just a show?
Just a show. I have
Well,
a
let's
tip,
have a tip
actually.
then, come on.
Yeah, I thought the squats was interesting. One of these horses now suffered with difficult second album syndrome as a 3-year-old, but he's a very promising 2-year-old. And the back end of last year, he showed a bit of an affinity for the straight track in Ascot. Hopefully now, he's a keen goer, but hopefully age may have mellowed him. Over 7 furlongs, I think he might get home. And Georgia Cox, she's no mug for claiming £7. I think he's interesting.
Which band do you think struggled most with the second album syndrome?
Oh, I'm not a music expert.
Oh,
I just
used the
threw
analogy.
that. But the Happy Mondays, they had a terrible time, didn't they? Go to the Caribbean or something and spent all the money on wine, women, and song, and didn't actually produce an album.
Yeah.
I know so little about music. I've never even heard of second album syndrome.
No, you wouldn't have done, mate. You wouldn't have done. I think I'd have Keane right up there. I think Keane did a great first hand. That one with the green cover, I can't remember. The second one was absolutely pathetic. Back to racing. Johnny, do you want to contribute at all to the rest of the Ascot card, or are you going to keep your powder dry for later on? We've got the 305 and the 340 both on Channel 4. Have you got a view on either of those?
Yeah, the 305, obviously the listed race. Interesting runner in Torquador, David Watchman's horse. David Watchman would not send horses over to England unless he greatly respected their chance. He's a trainer who doesn't throw like kind of darts widely at the dartboard, and this is an interesting horse in the pick of his form. A little bit disappointing behind Bondi Beach last time, but if he came on from that on the pick of his form as a 3-year-old, he's interesting and he stays the trip quite well. He's by Fastnet Rock, who we have a bit of a thing about in the bloodstock section of the paper today, and we'll have more on him and on when we talk about Leopardstown. But he's a stallion who's really grown in stature in the northern hemisphere, and Torquador's a good tough horse. He wouldn't be without a chance. I think he's around 7 or 8 to 1.
Who do you like in that, Kills?
Nothing in a race. I don't really like that race as a betting heat.
Let's look at the 340 then instead.
I do like Margaret's Mission in the 340. I think she'd be a fair price as well. I was watching her last year, and she took an age to get fully wound up when winning over a mile at Doncaster, but then she was absolutely flying at the death, and she won easily. She seemed to go off the boil after that, but she ran a good soft ground at York over 7 furlong, which is too short. Then pulled up. Something definitely went wrong at Doncaster over a mile and a quarter, and ran on really strongly again at 7 furlongs at Ayr, and then I was only beaten 6 lengths in the Cambridgeshire. I think what she wants is really fast ground, which is what she's going to get the first time since she last won. Jim Goldie likes the odd winner at Ascot in a decent race. He's booked Kieran Fallon, and I just think Ascot is absolutely going to suit her, and she'll go well.
You're still a Fallon fan? He's knocking on now. He's older than us, isn't he?
Yeah, I was discussing it with James Pyman the other day. I said, surely he's too weak for that. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, he hasn't lost his strength. You look at the way he pushed home that one at Chester. He said, some of the older jockeys, when they get older, they do lose it, but he's absolutely adamant that, if not as strong, then he's not far off.
He doesn't look his age, does he?
No, not
Do you know
like
he's
me.
actually 5 years older than you?
Yeah, I know. That's quite scary, isn't it?
If you and Kieran Fallon walked into a pub and said, right, you've got 20 quid even bet who's older, you'd clean up, wouldn't you?
I'd lose all the time. Wouldn't
You'd
I?
have
How about
to-
who's wiser?
Who's wiser?
That'd be tips on each of two, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Brendan, the floor is yours. 315 and 340 fans. 305 and 340 fancies at Ascot.
I thought, I thought the both were really difficult. I could not have a bet in against this elite army. It's all gone wrong from, but the memory of the race, the handicap he won in Royal Ascot when he just pulled the jockey's arms out for the whole race, still beat Windshire. He's a ridiculously talented horse, but he did very bad experience on his only run last year. So I couldn't back him, but I couldn't back anything to beat him. And the 340 I thought was too hard.
Okay, jolly good. Honest stuff. Right, Lingfield next.
And we haven't
go
finished
on.
yet. We've got the bet of the day at Ascot.
Well, let's
Yeah.
do that for... Is that your bet? Okay, we'll do that when we do the This Will Not Be Beaten.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that all right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP5 at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Right, I thought we'd look at Lingfield next, Kills, unless you want to do the St Ledger or something. You all right with it as well?
No, yeah,
Okay.
carry on.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at the 325, the Oaks Trial, and my favourite racehorse trainer, Rafe Beckett. Mighty Rafe, he absolutely has a stranglehold on this. He's won it 3 times in the last 10 years. 4 more horses finished in the frame, and he's got the jolly here, as Brennan Duke's show of betting from Paddy Power will illustrate.
Yes, she is 5 Mountain Bell, 15 to 8, 9 to 4 Seventh Heaven, 3 to 1 Architecture, 13 to 2 Chino E-Series, 10 to 1 Capricious Cantor, and 20 to 1 Natural Beauty.
You're our pronunciation expert. If you
Yeah,
struggle,
that's
we've
a
got
trick.
no chance,
That
have
is
we?
that is a maybe it's chinoise.
Chinoise series.
Chinoise, as in the French for Chinese. Oh no, because I'm typecast as the Clouseau character
you are.
of this podcast, and I can't even get that right.
It's a French word. You've missed out.
That's no. Okay.
Chinoiserie.
I'm hanging my head in shame.
We'll wait and see what the commentator says.
Merde, that's what I say.
No, you can't say merde on here.
Oh, right, oh,
Honestly,
sorry.
we might have some French listeners. Well, who's going to win it anyway? Redeem yourself.
I don't know what the weather. It's showers. There seems to be lots of showers. Some could be heavy. They may not arrive. They may arrive. But I thought if the showers came and the ground softened appreciably, that Chinoiseries was interesting. Archipenko, really stamina-laden pedigree, should appreciate some cut in the ground, and I thought she could be a fair price.
Have you had a look on AccuWeather yet? Which is
I have.
obviously your favourite weather app, isn't it?
I have, but everything seems to be showers, possibly heavy. I think it's more difficult when you're dealing with showers.
I'll tell you what, we've been led up the garden path again, haven't we? The weather forecast has been going about all week. It's going to be fantastic. They must have shares in barbecue equipment companies. It's ridiculous. 325 at Lingfield. Who wins, Paul Keeley?
Hopefully Mountain Bell. I was asked to do an Oaks preview by the editor of the Weekender 2 or 3 days after Minding put herself down as an absolute certainty for the Oaks. It was a bit difficult, so I went through quite a few of the fillies, and Mountain Bell finished second in the maiden. First time up was a 2-year-old last year. It was a good maiden. Lots of winners came out of it. I think the 4th was rated 106. She made no mistake first time out this year. She won by 10 lengths, both races on soft ground. She really did look the business. She was well back both times. She won by 10 lengths last time. It wasn't a great race. But straight afterwards, Rafe Beckett says she'll be entered in the Oaks tomorrow. Obviously, she has been. This is the race that he sends his Oaks filly, and he's had a few in his time. And I think she'll take a lot of beating if she handles a bit faster ground. And obviously, the ground was bottomless at Lingfield earlier in the week, and they were talking about running the entire meeting on the all-weather. It has dried out a fair bit since. I don't really see it being a problem for her. And hopefully she'll shorten in the market and be, one of probably very few dangers to Minding.
Johnny, will you stick with the King, or do you think this Aiden horse has got some chance?
Oh, definitely has a chance, yeah. I mean, the ground would be a bit of a conundrum if it were to come up anyway. Soft, I think Seventh Heaven is definitely a decent ground filly. She looked quite progressive, actually, when she won at Dundalk last time. And the 4th horse, Invincible Leah, did a nice bit of form boost yesterday at Clonmel. And I was taken with the performance of Seventh Heaven. She steps up quite dramatically in trip, which I think will probably suit. Having said that, I might be, among the minority here, but I'm really, really wary of Minding's chance in the Oaks. I just think she's too pacey.
Ah, stop. She has it. She's like Greenpeace when it comes to energy efficiency. She's a beautiful temperament. She settles so well in her races.
She's like Greenpeace when it comes to energy efficiency.
Yeah, she's the
You're
Wait to
wasted in that odds
day,
compiling game, mate. Come and become
Jesus
a journalist.
Christ.
Absolutely
Yeah.
super.
Don't.
Can
Seriously,
anyone,
Brendan.
Kills, can you help me out here? Too pacey. I'm not having that.
Well, it's all about settling and whether you're happy going in the slower paces. A course like Epsom, we saw what happened a few years ago when Dawn Approach won the Guineas. They went hell for leather in the Guineas, 40 mile an hour, and he was perfectly well settled. But when they ran the first bit of the Derby uphill, they were doing 30 mile an hour, and he was fighting for his head like mad. So if she settles, I mean, she's bred to get the trip. I can't see why she won't.
She isn't though, Paul. She isn't. Like her dam was a fairly pacey horse, Lily Langtry. Her sister Kissed by Angels, she didn't really get a mile and a half on the scant evidence we had. Ryan Moore says she would, but I bet you as the race approaches, if she does run it, I bet you Aidan will be sounding out these slight stamina doubts about her, and I think at the price she's very, very risky.
Okay, so might you be interested in backing one of these things at Lingfield against her, or do you think the Oaks winner could possibly be one of the other Ballydoyle horses?
Yeah,
indeed,
I like
possibly
to test her horse,
Ballydoyle.
honestly. No, I've
What was
actually
that,
an
an
idea.
impression of Ballydoyle?
It wasn't actually. I used to do a lot of horsey impressions back in the day, but I've grown up a little bit. In any case, I'm not sure if Seventh Heaven is good enough to maybe be an Oaks candidate, but I have an idea where Ballydoyle might end up running, and I'm going to explore it this weekend with that in mind when I speak to the great man on Sunday at Leopardstown.
Just quickly, did you do an impression of particular horses or just the horse breed in general?
Oh, just in general, but I became fairly adept at it, but over time I realised I suppose I had to do impressions of people instead. And
Was this when you were drunk trying to impress women or something?
well, you wouldn't be doing an impression of a horse,
Well,
would you?
who was the audience?
Oh, well, whoever happened to be there, There's a good story of Duke. Do you remember me doing an impression of your dad in Paris when we met?
I do.
Yeah.
I have some very vivid memories of that. I remember someone bribing a bouncer as well. Did we get into a nice nightclub because someone bribed
We did.
someone?
Well, just for the audience, the story goes that I hadn't met Brendan before, Brendan Jr., and I didn't know who he was. But I thought he sounded incredibly like Brendan Duke, the trainer, and I didn't know his name, but the lads were calling him Dukey. So I presumed it was a name that was related to the fact that he sounded like Brendan Duke.
Dear.
So I did an impression of Brendan Duke Sr. for about 10 minutes, and the lads about halfway through were like, by the way, that's his son there. That's actually his son. And I was like, no, it isn't, and I kept at it for another 5 minutes.
Brilliant.
That's a true story.
Okay, I well believe it, Johnny. Okay, 4 o'clock, the Derby trial at Lingfield. Only 5 runners. Another Rafe Beckett in there in Carntop. But the favourite is the side Bin Surur trained Winning Story, isn't it, Brendan?
Certainly is. At 9-4, Bruce. 3-1 the Carn Top. 100-30 Land of Hope and Glory. 4-1 the Humphrey Bogart. And 15-2 Across the Stars.
So it's very competitive, Brendan. And who's going to win?
Yeah, it is very competitive. I like this Carn Top. I like you. I think Rafe Beckett's a serious operator. And very taken performance at the back end of last year. I'd just about plump for him.
Keels?
Yeah, I mean, the foremost for me is Land of Hope and Glory, and it's quite a surprise to see an Aidan O'Brien trained horse isn't favourite for one of these classic trials. I know Winning Story made a fairly impressive debut at Newmarket, but Land of Hope and Glory ran in the Timeform sales race over 1 mile and 2, and he got what I call the dreaded, and hit the lay button straight away. Quote from Aidan O'Brien: "He's just ready to start." And there he was. He wasn't. He certainly wasn't as fully wound up as some of the others in the race. 1 mile and 2 will be miles too short for him this year anyway, and I think he's going to be one of those that comes on an absolute ton for that first run, and I think around about 130 with Paddy Power is very fair.
Do you think he's genuine, Paul?
He might not be 100% genuine, but ungenuine horses do win some races, and it is a little bit early in his career to be knocking him, really.
We're doing a feature week after next, by the way, on famous racing equine rogues, so that'll be a good one. Who would you expect to see in there, chaps?
Land of Hope and Glory.
No.
Unan Poja, he was the creme de la creme. Do you remember that Nichols horse? He kind of was a dual-purpose horse. He was off the flat, then he went hurdling. People will ludicrously put poor old Archibald in, and I shall castigate them.
I'm not sure about that, mate, because I'm absolutely president of the Archibald fan club, so he's not a rogue. He wasn't a rogue. He was
He just had some breathing issues, didn't he? Surely.
I don't know.
I think he just did it on the bridle. I don't think he'd any more to give off it, genuinely.
Right, we're all done with Lingfield, are we? I suppose. Oh, hang on, we've got the chart.
I haven't actually commented on this race, if I may.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Land of Hope and Glory, I think, is an absolute dog. I'm so frustrated with him. I was in Galway when he won his maiden. He's one of the most taking specimens. He was huge. I couldn't believe he was a 2-year-old. And I was like, this horse could win the Derby. Lumped on him at Naas, beaten ahead. Lumped on him at Newmarket, beaten again. Beaten at Leopardstown. I'd given up on him at that stage. Now, he might well have matured physically into a fine big horse, which he should have in terms of what he looked like as a 2-year-old. But for pressure, he just doesn't do it for me at all. I think Winning Story will have his measure.
Okay, jolly good. Now, obviously, it's the hottest day of the year tomorrow, and therefore the 250, the Chartwell Filly Stakes, has been switched to the all-weather course because it's waterlogged. The tip of the straight spur at Lingfield. Kills, do you think you can name the winner?
I'm quite interested to see Rara over 7 furlongs. When she's done all her form sprinting. She returned very, very well back to Wolverhampton on the championship day, all-weather championships day at Lingfield, and I managed to see her and couldn't believe it. She was tailed off after about a furlong. She couldn't go to pace at all, and the next thing you know, she absolutely flew. Now, she might just be one of those horses that needs a really strong pace at 5 furlongs, but if she can't go to pace in the early stages, then I'd imagine she's got a fair chance of settling, and I think she's got a bit of class.
Rah. Okay, fine. Let's switch our attention to Haydock Park, where we've got good old the Swinton Hurdle, which is now called the Pertemps Network Handicap Hurdle, but you'll recognise it as the Swinton. Tons of runners, always the sort of first big race of the new season, run on dusty ground, and we'll stick with you, Kills, for the winner.
Yeah, a little bit boring, really, because it's the favourite, Chittibello. Won the Scottish Champion Hurdle at Ayr last time on good to soft ground, and if anything, that ground is too slow for him anyway. He took it up 2 flights out at Ayr, and he went clear, and I think if he'd have been left a little bit later, he'd have won even more impressively. He was alongside Cloudy Dream, who everybody, including me, had as an unlucky loser because Cloudy Dream was absolutely
he's the one who
flying away.
absolutely.
But when they bypassed the third last, those two were in line. They were almost next to each other, and Chittibello took about 10 lengths out of him. And I think he was just tying up a little bit at the end. But Cloudy Dream's well handicapped. Clondor Warrior running off 144 when he's 108 over on the flat. They were very well handicapped horses in behind him, and I think he won with a fair bit in hand. The ground is going to be even faster. That'll suit, and I think it'll be played later, and I think they'll struggle to beat him.
A popular favourite, Brennan Duke, isn't he? Is that 4-1 holding up?
4-1 at the moment, Bruce. Yep. 6-1 the weight for me. 8-1 Guafa. 10-1 War Sound, and all set to go on 12's bar.
Okay, and Johnny Ward, who do you think will win?
Yeah, I'm very sweet on Chittibello as well. When he ran at Ayr the last time, I backed a horse who was also held up in the race with Brian Ellison's. And I thought the way the race developed that day, even though the horses who kind of were held up, some of them did get involved, I didn't think it really suited hold-up horses because I thought they went a bit of a stop-start gallop. And Johnny Mullen was actually talking to me before the race, and he says to me, watch out for this horse. He's very well handicapped in his horse on his form behind Altior, and off what's just 6 pounds higher. I think he's really, really solid. The stronger they go, the better this lad's chance will be.
Okay, and anything else at Haydock, Kills?
Not for me, no.
Johnny?
No.
Brendan?
Well, I'd give way for me a squeak in he's second fat, but I fancy way for me in the Swinton.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Jesus Christ, I've overlooked you for the Swin. That's absolutely appalling.
I don't blame you. I mean, the other lads...
No, come on, flesh that out. Why do you like wait for me?
Well, he had a very wide trip in the county hurdle. Now, the wide trip is death on a tight track like Chelsea, but I could understand why, because he's not a particularly good jumper, so you had to get him a look at his hurdles. But he did jump quite well, so I think he'd be a little bit more confident in his jumping, and it won't be as wide in Haydock. Now, the only worry is this race isn't loaded with pace, and he does need a decent gallop to run it, but hopefully he'll be able to get some cover and something will go on. And if it does, I think he's well handicapped off 139.
All right then, best bets of the day.
If he doesn't win, I will be absolutely staggered. I think it's a stone cold certainty.
Johnny Ward, let's begin with you.
My best bet of the day, I am going to go with the Gerlines trained, let me just get the name of this beast here, it's run at Dundalk, Kubali in the 345.
Okay, why?
Ran an absolute blinder on debut, was a big enough price at Dundalk, seemed to completely belie that by finishing second to the Tulip. And Lex Talionis, who's third, is a decent solid yardstick. Zilbeer was fourth, holds him on that form. And Ger's horses are absolutely bombing at the minute. He must have had about 5 or 6 winners in the space of a week on into last weekend, and plenty of positives for this horse.
What time's the race?
The race is at 3:45, and he'll be ridden by Colin Keane.
That's at Wexford, yeah?
That's at Wexford, yeah, and they go, nowadays at Wexford, they go left-handed. Sorry, he ran at Dundalk.
Oh, okay, fine.
I apologise.
No, that's all right, mate. I just want to make sure that the listeners who are avidly sitting there with their pens and papers get the right horse and the right race. So it's Kubali in the 3:45 at Wexford. Okay, and we just hope he runs the right way round there.
Yeah.
Paul Keeley, bet of the day.
Yeah, 2:30 Ascot. Nicky Henderson, fresh from training, the winner of the Chester Cup, has got sign of a victory, running first time in a handicap on the flat. He is rated 88. Now, if you transfer your full ability from the flat to hurdles and vice versa, there should be a £50 difference between your rating. I emailed that to check our Racing Post jumps handicapper Steve Mason to confirm that, and he said, yeah, £50. And he said, why, is this something of interest? I don't look at flat racing anymore. And I said, yeah, sign of a victory running off 88. And he said, well, without looking at the rest of the field, he looks a good thing. Now, he's got a handicap mark of 150 over hurdles. He's running off 88, so that's a £62 difference. And he's run his 2 best races over hurdles at Ascot on good ground. He invariably gets ground too soft for him throughout the jump season. He's running on good to firm ground. I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to win this, and he'll end up running in the mile and a half handicap at Royal Ascot, and he needs to win this to get in. So this will not be beaten.
What sort of price could we be looking at?
I'd imagine he's around about 7-2.
7-2. I tell you, when Kills gets on a run like that, it's like you're getting pinned up against the wall by him, and he's like snarling in your face. Maybe he's got a hammer in his hand, and he's just saying, "Back this horse." You just can't do anything else, can you? I presume
he's a horse that, like, he definitely gives you the impression he would do well on the flat as well, doesn't he, Paul? He's just a strong.
Oh, he does. You know, and there have been quite a few that have
Who
started off.
Who was the
over
jumper,
hurdles.
by the way, last week who won at Goodwood? Raven Black. He won a flat handicap last week off a low mark, didn't he?
Yeah, he did win off a very low mark. Yeah,
He absolutely dotted up. Okay, Brendan, what's your bet of the day?
I'll chance squats in the Victoria Cup.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Right, we'll look at Sunday's racing in just a mo.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP5 at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, Bruce Millington, Paul Keeley, Johnny Ward, and from Paddy Power, Brendan Duke. We're looking ahead to Sunday's racing, 3 notable races at Leopardstown, and we'll tackle them in chronological order. At 2:25, the Amethyst Stakes, and we've got a British Raider in good old Custom Cut. Will the Raider triumph? Johnny Ward.
He might, even though he's probably established himself as being pretty ground versatile at this stage. The soft ground just might kind of convenience him more with the view to the others slowing down. But
I've got
he's
good on my running order.
What's that?
We've got it down as good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it'll probably not quite be soft enough for him ideally, but he's such a solid horse. Loves Leopardstown. I think he's going to give a very good account of himself. I think a horse that might go well at probably an each way price is Alphonsus. He's a horse who's been progressing nicely for the masterful John Ox, and he's second to Washington DC last time, saw him go up a stone in the weight. So he'd be a tentative pick for me.
Let's hope the 8 all stand their ground so you can back Alphonsus each way. Kills, do you like anything in this race?
Yeah, I just think Custom Cut will win. I mean, actually, he's run to a Racing Post rating of 123 times in his life, and 4 times in his life, and 3 of those were on good ground. So I'm not remotely concerned by the ground. The last time he went to Ireland, he went to Leopardstown. He won pretty easily. He's run 2 crackers this season, so I think he's pretty solid.
Brendan, has the rotor been kind enough to give you Sunday off?
Certainly has.
So
Certainly
will you
has.
be there?
I will. Well, I mean, it's savage weather at the moment. Great drying out, so it should be a nice sunny day. Lovely, good ground. Yeah, be great.
Will you wear a necktie, or will you be casually attired?
Oh no, I don't actually have any ties. I put it to you, Bruce Millington, that the tie is the appendix of the fashion world.
I'm not sure about that.
Totally agree.
You don't
Absolutely
own
agree.
a tie.
No.
You literally have no tie.
I have access to ties. I have 2 brothers. I mean, I could get a tie at a push if we're going out somewhere, Johnny.
Right. Would it be fair to say you've no tie but many ties?
Too good.
I'm amazed by that. You don't own a necktie. What happens if you got to go to a funeral? You borrow one, or do you hire one? Maybe?
No, I don't wear a tie. I wear a suit with a shirt. Sure,
Tries to
a
avoid
funeral?
funerals. He does. He tries to avoid funerals.
Are you telling me if you had to go to a funeral, you wouldn't wear a tie?
I don't wear ties.
That's poor. That is really poor, Brendan. I've been doing these podcasts with you for about a year now, and I've always found you an absolutely unblemished individual. But suddenly we've got something.
I absolutely agree. While I own loads of ties, I actually don't own a shirt that I can button up to the top.
Well, that's more your problem. You can't find a tie long enough to get around your bloody neck. 3 o'clock, the Derrinstown Stud Irish 1,000 Guineas trial. Johnny Ward, who's going to win this? And whoever it is, will it go on and do something amazing in the rest of its career?
No, it wouldn't be that sort of a race. I find this very, very difficult, I have to say. Maybe another tentative pick for Radiantly. William McCreary's fantastic trainer. I don't know if he gets enough appreciation in Britain, as he should. He was a fine Gaelic footballer in his day, and he's probably a better trainer again. And Radiantly is a good tough filly by the late Aussie Rules, and Aussie Rules, of course, was the stallion of Faisalana, who's Willie's only Group 1 winner so far, and who won at Leopardstown, which won the Matron over the course and distance. But I like this Radiantly. She's very tough, and she just might be good enough to win what's a trappy race and will have no bearing whatsoever on the Guineas, which is usually the case in this race.
Okay, Kills.
I'd give Now or Never a shot, but without any confidence. I mean, she was second to Jet Set and finished in front of Alice Springs on absolutely bottomless ground. I don't know whether she'll want ground really fast, but it'd be a guess. It's not a race I'll be punting.
You got Fallon down for a great weekend. Brennan Duke, who will you be cheering on without your necktie?
Yeah, she certainly doesn't want fast ground an hour and ever, but it shouldn't be quick. So I'd say she'll run, and she should be good enough in what looks a boat race, really.
All right, well, perhaps there might be some more classic clues on offer at 3:35, the Derrynstown Stud Derby trial. Idaho, I think. Didn't Nick Watts put that up for the Derby this week, Kills?
He did.
Anti-Post Focus?
Yeah, I think he did.
He did, and he's one of 4 Aidan entries. So it's the old mass ranks from Ballydor. Who's going to win, Johnny Ward?
Well, this is the big thing. I had my idea that Idaho would be the horse to beat in this race, and Aidan just has thrown a perler here by putting Ryan on Shogun, who I didn't think had an outstanding chance on form. I thought he's a horse that maybe would improve for a bit further, and they obviously step him up in trip. But I was at the Curragh on debut for Idaho. He's a massive, big striding horse, and he then went on to run in Saint-Cloud. Slightly disappointing, but didn't run too badly. Came back in his reappearance on atrocious ground, really atrocious ground at Leopardstown behind Harzand, and pulled 7.5 lengths clear of Beacon Rock in third. And I think on the better ground, it can only suit this horse. I think he still has an outside chance at the Derby. And what we saw at Chester yesterday, it's rather muddied, the picture. He's a brother to Highland Reel. He's plenty going for him. He's a good attitude. And even though the fact that Shamey rides him is just a plus in the sense that, first of all, he's an excellent rider. And second of all, he's going to be a bigger price now.
Okay. Paul Keeley, what do you reckon?
Interesting. I mean, we're assuming that US Armour Ranger is still the number one. They've got to decide on who's going to ride the other ones at Epsom. So it might just be the case of let's stick Shamey on Idaho, because that will be his ride at Epsom. Yeah, I thought he was the most likely winner in the race. I was a bit surprised initially to see that Ryan Moore wasn't on him, but then when you think that they've got to think about plans further ahead, and he's probably not going to be on him at Epsom, whatever, then why not put someone else on?
Good thinking.
What did we make of Chester yesterday?
Hang on a sec, we're coming to that. Let's just stick with let's get the Derrynstown, because we're going to have a quick Derby chat before we go. So who's going to win this race, Kills?
Yeah, Idaho. Yeah.
Idaho. And what about you, Brendan?
Well, one for the purists, this, Bruce, because 2 equine pin-ups, Idaho and Termitzi, are getting it on, and if one of them doesn't win, I'll be very disappointed.
Are they nice-looking beasts?
Very, very impressive.
See, this is where I struggle. I think all racehorses look lovely. I think they all look the same. I cannot tell the difference in a good-looking horse and a dray horse.
Well,
Termizi's a cracker by all accounts.
Yeah, but really, really big scopy horse. Well, like a lot of Sea the Stars. But that's a fair point. But they are magnificent-looking animals, but some are more magnificent than others.
And who will be the one passing the post in front?
Idaho. I think Idaho will win this and win the Derby.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, well, you've answered the next question then, because I was going to say, we had a tweet through last night that began exciting news, and it came from @Hugo Palmer. It said, exciting news about Galileo Gold. He's not going to go for the Derby. He's going to stick to a mile. I'm thinking, well, where's the exciting news? That's not remotely exciting. So everyone's got excited about this gene test, and that apparently has decreed that he can't possibly get 12 furlongs at Epsom. So we don't have Galileo Gold to consider. But Brendan, sticking with you believe Idaho will win tomorrow and then go on and do the business at Epsom, do you?
Yes, I just think he'd be a totally different horse on better ground. And I imagine the price he went off in the Ballysacks, I wasn't there that day, but the ground was a factor. Also, he probably wasn't straight, and he travelled so well in that race. He was much the best horse in that race.
While Keels tells us who he thinks will win the Derby, perhaps you could rustle up a show for us, Brennan. So go on, Keels, take it away. Yeah,
to be honest, I haven't got a massive strong fancy. I'm waiting for something to come through that really, really impresses. Now, you can't rule out something like US Army Ranger, but you can't get excited by 4-1 after, scraping home in a Group 3 race. from a horse giving you weight. So, obviously he's going to improve dramatically. I'm sure Midterm is going to improve dramatically, but I didn't really rate the second going into that race. And, I think there's plenty to play for. I'll wait for the Dante. It's not a race I tend to punt in anti-post anyway because I'm a handicap punter. But, for me, I'm not that excited about the contest at the moment.
All right, Johnny, are you excited about it?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating derby this year. I think maybe more questions than answers from Chester yesterday. What was rather intriguing about Aidan at the Curragh on Sunday was we were talking about the Chester Vase, and he said that this US Army Ranger, he said he's going to be very, very green. I don't know how these bends are going to kind of work out for him, and obviously he was going there completely with a view to prepping himself for the contours and so forth of Epsom, and I thought he handled the track extremely well. And I think despite the fact that it was a hugely controversial race for obvious reasons, and he was little or no better than the horse that was second on the day, I think the fact that he cornered so well was slightly underestimated, and the fact that he was making his debut only a month ago, he seems to be held in high regard. The word I have from Ballydoyle, such as it is that he's their best horse, but I wouldn't put anyone off putting a little saver on Idaho as well.
Okay, how are we betting on the derby then, Brendan Duke?
Well, minding with the run proviso at 2-1, 3-1 Midterm, 5-1 US Army Ranger, 10-1 Idaho, 12-1 Port Douglas, 14-1 the Gurkha, and 16's Bar.
There's absolutely no chance, by the way.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
This is a media-generated conspiracy. I don't know where it came from. Probably some lad who, just a thought came into his head at Newmarket, because this will not happen and was never going to happen.
I think one of the odds compilers did it, and then the others fell into the line. That was all it was. There's nothing really in it, I don't think.
Well, that's fair enough. It's a copycat league. But no, we were also getting requests because I think she'd have run it last year, when they were bereft of, I don't even think they had a horse at a single figure price. So obviously the scenario, the nightmare scenario is she wins and they have the second, who's a colt. They don't want that to happen. But I think if it had been last year where they hadn't got a single figure, hadn't really got a hope win the race, she'd have run.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. There could well be a filly running in a classic for colts from Ballydoyle this year, but it won't be minding. I shall leave it at that.
All right, well, before we go, I will give you the derby winner, Port Douglas. Okay, thank you very much, Paul Keeley. Thanks, Johnny Ward, and thank you, Brendan Duke. Thank you for listening. Hopefully there were some winners within that lot. Join us on Monday when the panel, which includes the mighty Alistair Down, will look back on all the action.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.